So hi everyone, I'd like to welcome you to the DCSBDC COVID-19 Initiative webinar series. We do these series to help small businesses navigate through the pandemic. I am so happy that you have joined us and you're with us here today. So let me move on. My name is Danielle Ricks, and I am your facilitator for today. Might help if I could speak English properly. I am your facilitator for today. I am the owner of my own small business, Danielle Ricks Productions, but I am also contracted with DCSBDC as a COVID-19 initiative counselor, and I am a subject matter expert in communications and marketing. Today, we're going to be talking about communications basics, social media trends in the era of COVID-19, what to share during the pandemic, examples of effective social media messaging. We're going to have an interactive part of this study as well, of this webinar rather as well. Two people have sent in their website links, social media links, and I'm going to be doing an audit of them live a little bit later on, just to walk you through some of the ways that you should be using social media and some of the ways that you should be marketing your business. So thanks to those guys who sent the information in early so we could have that portion of it. So again, my name is Danielle Ricks and I am the owner of Danielle Ricks Productions. And I really enjoy this part of working with clients in these webinars to be able to walk you guys through some of the tricks of the trade so that you can understand how to use social media as part of your marketing. And so when you say marketing, Danielle, why are we focusing on social media? It is one of the most powerful tools out there. So that's why we are focusing on social media today. All right. So let's talk about the 5 W's of communications, the who, what, when, where, and why. These are pillars of communications and storytelling across the board. They're our North Star for those of us in communications and journalism, those who are writers, it is our North Star. So you want to think about not only who are you reaching, that's the first who, but who are you in this space? How are you representing yourself and how are you marketing yourself? So that's the who. The what are you marketing? What are your products and services? When should you be sharing this information with the public in terms of what you're marketing and the products and services you have, particularly in a time of COVID-19, right? So when are we sharing this information? Who, what, when, where are you going to share it? Is it going to be on all the social media platforms? I like to tell people not to get caught up in the next best bright, shiny thing. Just because it's out there, you may not necessarily need to use it depending upon where your clients are, where your client base are, where your customers are, and what it is that you're sharing with them. So who, what, when, where, and how. How are you sharing this information? We're going to be talking about marketing and messaging and communication during the pandemic, and we're specifically talking about how to use that with social media. Okay, so social media and COVID-19. We have been in this pandemic for several months right now. It is no small task to think about how we are using social media and what the messaging is. Social media has become a powerful tool for marketing for your business. And businesses that survive these uncertain times need to know how to respond fast and effectively during a pandemic, specifically during COVID-19, and via social media as their platform. Now, I know that it takes a lot of work, and some people are overwhelmed already with their business, not being able to know if they're going to be able to stay open, how they can pivot their business. And so it does become a bit daunting for me to then come back behind you and say, and oh, by the way, you need to market your business, and you need to market your business a specific way during a pandemic and during a crisis. But a lot of what I'm sharing with you, while it does speak to COVID-19 and it does speak to the pandemic and this surge that we're in right now, this is information that you can use during any crisis, and how you can go about communicating with your customers and your clients during any crisis, but certainly how we're using it during COVID-19. And obviously COVID-19 has changed everything for us and how we're moving forward. So social media trends, when we talk about where you should be in social media and what the trends are, YouTube and Facebook are the most widely used online platforms. And I think you all know, or maybe you don't, that Facebook also owns Instagram and WhatsApp, which is very popular as well. Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, all smaller shares for American sites, believe it or not. The giant out there is Facebook, and right behind it is going to be LinkedIn. So what does that mean for you? Are you using these two powerful communication tools in your toolbox as you're marketing your company and your business, your small business? And if you are, let's do the who, what, when, where, and why. You know, who are you marketing to? What is it that you're marketing? When are you out there getting your messaging? How are you messaging to them, and why? Those are the North Star. Again, we're going to come back to that several times to talk about how we are communicating. Okay. So knowing your audience is very important. And I'd like you to take a moment and just look at this graph from Pew Research. And Pew Research, they are the grandfathers, and they do research better than most. And we want to look to them in terms of how we identify where our audience is. And some of the questions that you want to ask yourself is, when you think about your customer and who they are, the who of the who, what, when, where, and why, when you think about the who of who they are, you want to answer some questions about their age, their location, their interests, their income levels, right? Those are the basic demographics that we start with when we start thinking about a customer. But during a pandemic, during a crisis, during COVID-19, we need to ask some more things, go a little bit further and ask, what does all that mean? You know, you want to find out what your customer is thinking and feeling at this particular time. You want to do some research and check in with influencers that target your customers. And then you want to need to do, think about, what do you do to put yourself in your customer's shoes? Are they working from home? That's a whole new dynamic for many people. Are they trying to keep kids busy now that their school may be closed, or maybe their school is closed part-time? And so they have to figure out how to work, and they have to figure out how to take care of these kids. Are they trying to stay fit and healthy while they're in quarantine? The biggest question I think you want to ask yourself as a small business owner, is particularly during a crisis, at all times, but particularly during a crisis, is, what problem does your customer or client have that you can solve? What problem does your customer or client have that you can solve? If you can answer that question, you really don't need to sit for the rest of this. Like you've already done most of the work, and you're far ahead of anybody else. But those are the things that you need to be thinking about. And as we move through a pandemic in COVID-19, there are several problems that you can solve for them, right? So you want to take a step back in answering that. And I want you to forget everything that you've done before and everything that you've thought about your customer before. And I know that sounds radical, like, what are you talking about, Danielle? That doesn't make sense. Well, I do want you to start from scratch. Like, we'll talk about their age group, 79% between 30 and 49. According to this graphic, they're using Facebook, right? So great, we know where they are, and we can pretty much figure out how to reach them. But when you reach out to them, what are you sharing with them? What problem can you solve? How has your customer changed in the last 8 months? Who they were this time last year, and the things that were important to your clients and your customers this time last year has shifted. Do you know what that shift is? Have you surveyed them? Have you talked to them? Have you asked them what's important to them? That's the biggest indicator of how you can market and communicate with these people, is by finding out what's really important to them. So I hope you've taken some time, and if not, go ahead and jot that down, that you want to reach out to your customers, do some surveys, do some informal info sessions to figure out what's important to them. So these networks, these social media networks are on the rise. Statista is another one that does great market research on social media. And according to them, the market leader, of course, once again, is Facebook. It's one of the most popular social networks in the United States. A total of 79% of internet users in the United States have a social network profile. So what does that mean to you when you're marketing? Depending upon the age group of the people that you're marketing to, it means that a good portion of your marketing budget needs to be set aside for Facebook ads, not just posts, but what we call in social, paid social, which are the Facebook ads. I know that times are tight, and I know that a lot of small businesses are struggling. And here I am saying, well, you need a marketing budget. But I am saying you need a marketing budget. You need to be able to set some money aside to tell the story of your business, particularly in a time when so many people are online and they're getting bombarded with information from so many different avenues. You want to be able to stand out from the rest. Facebook ads are not that expensive, and they can be targeted so that you can make sure that your messaging, remember we talked about knowing who your audience is, right? Knowing the demographic, knowing the gender, knowing the income of your audience. Once you have all that information, being able to target them on Facebook with that information is invaluable to you. You don't have to spend your time putting an ad on Facebook that's going to go out to the world. You want to go to your niche market of the people that you are targeting for your small business. So think about using those ads, what we call paid social, on Facebook as a way to reach your customers. But then this is the big thing, knowing the path to purchase, of your audience. What do I mean by that? How do you turn the click into something that they're going to purchase? And one of the challenges that social media marketing has by nature is the social media peer-to-peer, right? Involving conversations between friends, family, and colleagues. That's only going to get you so far when you're trying to sustain your business. Now, I do recommend using family, friends, and colleagues to help engage, to help push your messaging out, but we can't rely solely on friends and family to help us expand our business. And so research has shown that there are trends towards purchase. And it shows that younger age groups are particularly keen on researching products online via social networks. And this is both organic, those are the posts that you do yourself or your social media manager does for you. And then these are paid posts, the ads that I was talking about. But in a time of COVID, when people are home during a pandemic with stay-at-home orders and people are working from home more and they're staying home more, people are also researching more. They are looking for your product, your services online. When they see you and they see your post, and to get them to engage and go from post to purchase has a lot to do with what your digital footprint looks like on social media. So a friend, we talk peer-to-peer, a peer posted on Facebook about a lipstick company that was having a 50% off sale. I had never heard of the company before, but on the recommendation of my friend, I thought it was a good idea. The very first thing that I do then is go research this company. I go research on the internet, I just go Google the name of the company, the owner of the company, and then I start looking for reviews. And where I think some small businesses fall short, not all, but some fall short, is that we often do not put a lot of weight into the Google Yelp reviews. Now, that's aside from restaurateurs. I think they do an excellent job, many do an excellent job of looking at their reviews on Yelp and on Google. But those of us who sell products and services, we need to be looking for those reviews as well and asking for those reviews as well. I don't want you guys to be afraid of having a customer that's a great customer and then asking them to do a review for you. It is very important to your business that those great comments are out there, because that's what we as consumers, when we go look for things, and that's what your consumers who want to purchase from you are going to look for. So make sure that you have, not just on Google and Yelp, but also in LinkedIn, that you've got great reviews. You want to make sure that your digital footprint looks great, and that you've got lots of likes and good comments. And if you have bad comments, that you're not shying away from those bad comments. Please do talk to the customers that have had a bad experience and resolve it. As much as you possibly can, resolve the issue that they may have with your business, with your product or your service, and then ask them, once it is resolved, to give you a great review. All right, let's continue. So social media messaging during COVID-19. This is the second webinar that I've done on this topic. And on this particular one, I wanted to give you guys more examples. Whoever is not muted, please mute yourself. I'm sorry, everyone should have been muted upon entry. So just make sure you're in mute for us. Thank you, guys. In the first iteration of this webinar, I gave you a lot of statistics, and we had 2 case studies from people who have gone through the DCSBDC sessions with me, and how successful they have been with their messaging and how they pivoted. I wanted to give you guys some other examples across the internet of how people are using their platforms. So the first thing I want to encourage you all to do is to listen and acknowledge what is happening. We are in a surge. The second, some people are calling it the third wave of the pandemic. So you want to make sure that you have messaging out there that addresses that. It's affecting everybody around the world in different ways. And I'm not saying that you need to have every single post acknowledge it, but in the way that you engage with people, you want to make sure that you are listening, you're acknowledging what's happening, and you're being empathetic. Remember, just like you small business owners, your customers and clients, they're going through things as well. Some of them have lost loved ones. They may be caring for loved ones. They may have lost their jobs. They are trying to work from home under the pressure of raising children as well, and teaching kids from home while they're working from home. And some of them may be sick also. So you want to make sure that your messaging is sensitive, empathetic, and you are knowledgeable about what's happening in your particular county. So I gave this example from this person just really making sure that their followers understood what they were going through. I have a client, DCSBDC client, who totally revamped her hair salon and took my advice about videotaping and took us on a tour of the salon to show us all of the ways that they have redone the salon to keep their customers safe. It wasn't a long video, but how COVID-19 was able to inspire and spark creativity in this business owner to change things around and spruce things up in her hair salon so that people felt comfortable and relaxed coming in there. She shared it on all her social media channels, and she also shared it via her e-blast. And if you don't have an e-blast right now, and that's a newsletter that you're going to send out to your customers, please put that on your list of things to do. It is an easy way to communicate with your customers and your clients. And depending upon the information that you share, they actually start looking forward to the e-blast. All right, let's go to the next one. I want to tell you that to keep posting, that yes, I need you to be knowledgeable and empathetic, but post more now than you've ever posted before, because people are online more. So I just talked about the newsletter. Make sure that you have a nice, clean newsletter. It doesn't have to be, the greatest book ever written in life. The newsletter is very simple and clean. You know where your followers are. You know that they're online, and you want to stay connected to them. And particularly if you are a small business owner right now who's had to pivot and is not exactly sure what their offering is right now, because you're waiting for the county or the state to tell you whether or not you can either open back up or have more people in your establishment. You're still trying to figure out where you fit in. This is not the time to stop communicating, however. So I used this caption right here because this particular place in Sandy, Oregon, the the Wood Island House is sharing some very real experiences with people and just saying, hey, how's everybody doing out there? Such a scary and wild times. And we're over here wondering, along with everybody else, how long this is going to last. All this is definitely causes us to reorder our priorities and to focus on things that matter most. We sincerely hope you all are weathering the storm okay. We know this will pass, and we will hopefully because we are all in this together. And then they go on to update their customers on what the business is doing. So, they're updating them on letting them know that they're still accepting stays and what that looks like when they do accept stays. So I know that, again, as you're pivoting and you're trying to figure out what you're doing, the inclination may be to stop sharing and stop engaging and stop posting. And I'm encouraging you to actually do it more. And you can recycle content that you've had before, as long as it's relevant. You can recycle pictures that you've had before. Trust me, nobody remembers the photos and the videos that you used a year ago. No one is going to sit back there and go, I think I saw that photo before. Like, you can go ahead and repurpose some of the content that you have with the sensitivity of where we are now in the country with COVID-19, if that makes sense. Okay, so organic value. I talked about the paid, where you're going to buy paid ads, but what is the organic value? Instagram is a great place for engagement, as we talked about a little earlier, but Instagram is the place for beautiful photos and videos. Beautiful photos and videos. So please write that down. As you're thinking about how you're using these different platforms and how to engage across platforms, I want you, when you're on Instagram, to think about the storytelling that is beautiful. And you want to focus on engagement first instead of just driving traffic, and providing extra education through videos and carousels and captions, instead of just constantly asking people to click or like or link to your bio, right? And so another way to provide value is shifting your overall content strategy to address social distancing and giving your followers what they're needing most right now. And let me just back up a little bit and talk about content strategy. So content strategy, if you don't have a social media manager, what you're looking at is the landscape of the month and what do you want to communicate during the month. It may be Women's History Month, and you may be a women's business owner, and therefore you want to highlight that particular part of the month. Maybe you also offer a discount during that time. Maybe you use that time to connect with other women business owners and use that as a way to elevate other women business owners so that they elevate you. When it comes to content strategy as well, I like iteration. So it may be Motivation Monday, Tip Tuesday, Wisdom Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Follow Friday. Those are the easy ones, and those are ones that have built-in audiences because they have built-in hashtags. So when you use those hashtags on those days, they elevate you and they put you into a different audience. Now, back to providing organic value, this business saw their business changing. So at Revolve, they're known for their epic influencer vacations and travel, right? Like, they have beautiful, fantastic photos and videos of their influencers out on vacation, traveling to the hot spots around the world. Well, we're not traveling to hot spots around the world right now, right? So instead of Revolve Around the World, which was their original hashtag, an organic hashtag to them, they created a new hashtag, Revolve Around the House, to encourage their followers to stay positive, productive, to work out, and most importantly, to stay connected. So the use of hashtags can be very powerful as you pivot towards your content strategy. You want to be in conversations where people are. So they would use, for this particular one, they would use hashtags like vacation and travel, but now they're pivoting and they're doing Revolve Around the House. So some of their hashtags that they may use moving forward would be workout from home. And you can see who they've tagged and what they've posted for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on the graphic that's there. All right, let's move on. And you guys, I am going to leave time for questions, but if you have any, please drop them in the comments, and I will promise to get to as many as I can when we're done. So I call this business as unusual. It's not business as usual, it's business as unusual. And I'm asking you all to use this slower time to invest in growing your brand instead of your bottom line. And I know that's hard to ask at a time when small businesses are struggling, but now is a good time to refresh that logo that you always thought about doing. Make sure that your profile photos on your social media channels look great. Make sure that your website looks great, not only on the desktop, but also on your handheld device. Now is the time to really do some inventory on your social media and on your website. If you haven't started your newsletter, now is a good time to start it, as I mentioned. If you haven't already started a YouTube channel, now is a good time to do that. Video was king before the pandemic. It is still king after the pandemic. So starting a YouTube channel or IGTV series is going to benefit you in the long run. And right now, we're focusing on how can we pivot this brand? How can we uplift this brand? And what are the tools that we can use in marketing and engagement to make that happen? So think about doing those things now, even if you're just in the working or planning stages of how you're going to pivot, or if you're going to pivot, or what the status of your business is. Now is a good time to go ahead and do your inventory and do your own audits of your own social channels and your digital media channels and your marketing avenues to make sure that they are up to par, because people are going to be looking. And I also encourage you to go ahead and buy a ring light. As I tilt my eyes up, I think you can see the ring in my glasses, right? So I'm trying to look down so it doesn't come in. But go ahead and buy a ring light for all your Zoom meetings, but also for the videos and the photos that you're going to take, and start recording right away. All right. So we talked about this before in the last webinar, but I want to make sure that I repeat it again. Be aware of what is taking place in the news. There's social media listening software like Sprinkler, Sprout Social, CrowdTangle, and Bandwidth. They allow you to set up keyword terms for mentions of COVID-19 or the coronavirus in connection to your community or county. You want to know what is happening in your county, in your state, and listening and being sensitive to what that is, right? So you don't want to have a programmed post that's a celebratory post on the day that your state shuts down and your county has the highest rate of coronavirus deaths and coronavirus cases. So be aware of what's taking place in the news. Use these tools that I just mentioned, Sprinkler, Sprout Social, CrowdTangle, and Bandwidth to social listen. You can set up, and you can do this in Google as well. You can set up Google alerts as well, just to listen to what is happening in and around your county and your state as it relates to the pandemic or crisis that you and your neighbors are going through, and your customers. You can also do a level of social listening on Facebook and Twitter, and even Nextdoor. I use Nextdoor quite a bit, the Nextdoor app quite a bit, to see what is happening in the neighborhood and to get a temperature in the room of what's going on with my neighbors and what they think is important. And then you want to follow hashtags by local business leaders, local media outlets, reporters, local influencers, to see what they're sharing and posting and saying. Now, I know that this sounds like a heavy lift. You know, Danielle, you've got us out here doing a lot. We've got to do our marketing. We've got to figure out where our audience is. We've got to understand the demographic of them. We need to know what to post. We have to be sensitive. We have to post a lot. And now you're asking me to follow these business leaders and these local business media outlets. Yes, I am. I am asking you to do that because you as a business leader and you as a business owner need to be informed about what's happening with your business. So setting up these tools and setting up these social listening softwares and being able to find the quickest, easiest way for you to find out what's happening, it doesn't take a lot of time for you to figure out what is happening, is going to help you with the what, of the who, what, when, where, and why storytelling. It's going to help you with the what and the when, what to post and when to post. And it's going to allow you to be empathetic as well, when we talked about that earlier, so that your posts are taking into account what your customers and clients might be going through. And then again, review and adjust pre-scheduled posts. As I mentioned, you want to make sure that your tone is proper. And in any pandemic, in any crisis, things are moving very quickly. So you want to make sure that your tone is, again, empathetic, but that you understand what is happening, and you might even adjust your content based upon what's happening in the media, or what's happening in your county, or what's happening in your state. All right. So I did a whole lot of talking. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. But more than that, we are going to go to some demonstrations, some interactives of, where are they? Here we go. Of the, of folks who have sent me their links. So the parks, if you are, could you raise your hand if you're in the audience right now? I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this. And I don't see you. I'm not sure how you registered. Oh, there you are. Let me see if I can unmute you. If you could unmute yourself, that would be great. I think I got you. Are you there? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So this is your Instagram page, correct?
Correct.
All right. The thing that, so let's talk about a couple of things. First of all, this is a beautiful image right here.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing.
You're not, I'm not sharing? Oh, hold on. Let's see. Let's see if we can go back and share. All right. Can you see now?
Yes.
All right. So this is a beautiful image. Is this original, or this is someone else you shared?
Which one?
This very first one?
Yes. So that is someone else that we shared. You know, we are actually, as a Main Street, in charge of supporting the businesses in our community. So we do spend a lot of time resharing some of their events or specials or sales.
I really like this image a lot. Now this image, what do you think the problem with this image is?
Scaling. That is.
Yeah, so what you did was you took it from your Facebook page, where it fit great on your Facebook page, and your social media manager, whoever is doing your social, probably did it through a sprinkler or a content management system and pushed it out to both locations. And so when you do that, though, you need to go back and look and make sure that it looks the same. There's no reason why you can't do it. You just want to go back and make sure that it looks the same. So a lot of this Giving Tuesday, I don't want to report you. This Giving Tuesday information is fine. It took me a long time to get to anything where you talked about what's happening with COVID. And so while people are giving, one of the things that you might want to say in your content is, I know this is a difficult time. I know you are probably struggling, but if you could take a moment to give too. Do you know what I mean? Like being empathetic and respectful of the fact that this is a hard time to ask for money from people. And we want them to shop small, but we understand, and like Saturday is shops, small business Saturday. We understand, however, that this is a difficult time for you. But if you are going to shop, and with Christmas right around the corner, we want you to shop small. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you're saying that even in the ask or unrelated, we need to at least acknowledge that COVID is going on.
Correct. Particularly if you're asking people to spend money.
Okay.
Because many of these people don't have the money to spend or feel tight about the money that they have to spend. So as long as you're acknowledging that, the ask is okay, but not just blankly asking as if this was this time last year.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to be careful of your images as well. This is a little distorted. So when we talk about what we use Instagram for, we just want to make sure that our images are properly sized and really look great.
Well, can I ask you a question about that? Because
Sure.
that's, for example, a repost that came from one of our business owners. And sometimes I do the social media. So
Oh, okay.
sometimes I am a little, I teeter the line on what I should change and what I should not. It's a direct repost in terms of their captions and sometimes in terms of the graphics.
I would not repost bad graphics.
Okay.
I just would not do it. I wouldn't repost bad graphics. You can still use a generic graphic and tag them in it in order to promote them, but I would not use a bad graphic. I mean, this is your page. This is your look. This is your brand.
Okay.
One of the other and it's really hard to, one of the other suggestions that I would make is that you do, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through, you do so it's posting in threes. So you might do a graphic like this, a graphic like that, and in the middle, a graphic like this. And then you would revert, and like that, I mean, a static call to action, a static call to action, a creative.
Okay.
And then you might go creative, call to action, creative. So that it actually is giving you some rhythm and rhyme to what you're posting. Things like thank you and we call these quote cards. Quote cards, you may even say, all my quote cards are gonna go down the middle. And I'm going to do an ask, a creative, a quote card, a creative. It just depends on how much you have in your bandwidth and how much you have in your content. But you want to start looking at the larger landscape of Instagram and not just what people see when they scroll through, but what people see when they come to your page.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So for Twitter, I have no suggestions other than watching your framing. Just watching your framing. And other than that, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So let's go to Facebook. I think what is happening is you are going from Facebook to your other accounts, right?
Yes, or sometimes using a scheduler.
Yeah.
And of course, keeping the same graphic, because if not, that means doing 3 different posts. And so the time saving starts to get away from us if I've got to do it 3 different graphics, 3 different ways.
So the question is, do you have to share every single post 3 different graphics, 3 different ways? What's the gain? Like, so now you start looking at your return on investment. What's the gain? Let's go to the one that didn't get, you got 4 likes. It's not, you didn't have to do this one. You know what I mean? Like you can remove it. You didn't have to do this one. So now you start asking yourself, where's my biggest hit? Where is my audience most engaged in, and why are they not engaging? So you have your digital footprint is there, but there's not a lot of engagement. And part of that reason is you're not asking them any questions. You're not asking them to share this information. You're not using hashtags and you're not tagging people. So Facebook makes it very hard for us to see businesses unless you take out an ad.
Right.
So even though there are people following you, you're not gonna come up in their feed. So using shop small and shop local, smart, right? Very smart. But I would like to see you just use a little bit more copy. And I would like to see you start using some other hashtags.
Okay.
Some that are unique to you. So it might be, it might just be Parks Main Street or Main Street on the Rise or Main Street on the Go, like whatever you can come up creatively, you want to go ahead and use that hashtag because that's what you're going to click on when it's time for you to look at your ROI. When it's time for you to see how many posts did you do, how many were organic, how many, small businesses should have gotten you a lot of hits because it's out there, but it didn't even get you 1 like. So now you have to ask yourself, how much effort am I putting out here and how much is my gain? So instead of just doing this, you might want to tag in your comments, please don't tag them up here. It's very irritating. Tagging people in your photos is not a marketing tool, folks. But in your comments, you could go in here and tag a bunch of different organizations, different small businesses, so that they see the post. It'll show up for them as not that they were tagged in it, but that they are going to be drawn to it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, because we want to get some more activity on this page. You're putting a lot of effort out here, and certainly tag the companies that you're promoting.
Well, that's part of our problem. A lot of them are not on social media. So
these guys down here?
Yes, they definitely are.
Okay, so we definitely at least want to tag them.
Okay.
For the ones that are on social, and look, I don't have any problems straight up asking, please tag and share. Just ask them, please tag and share.
Okay.
Share a friend. You might even have a share Saturday. Share your small business story. Share a link to your favorite small business.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now I think this is you, Douglas. I think this is you, Doug. This is Bright Street. All right. Let me try to find you. Here you go. And if you could unmute yourself, Doug.
I'm unmuted.
All right. So let's start with, first of all, hi.
Hey there.
How are you doing?
Danielle?
I'm
doing good.
All right. So let's dive in. I really, really like this Facebook page. What I like about it is that you are talking about COVID in a way that's not in your face, but I really would like this to be a little bit more in my face. So I didn't have to go very far to search for COVID protocols. And so I like that. And what you're shying away from is, these are our COVID protocols. Parents, please know that your children are going to be safe when you drop them off here. So here's what we want you to do. And then there's the photo, and then there's the image on how they get, but I am very impressed that it showed up. I didn't have to go very far to look and see, and that I see examples of sanitizing masks. I just think they need a little bit more copy, because this is a powerful image, and they just need a little bit more copy about how they're being protected.
If I can just say one thing.
Sure.
There was another company that we were getting images from that provides some different media images. And in a bi-weekly meeting that we have when we're discussing content with them, or our content needs that they provide to all of the daycare service centers, one of the things that they mentioned is that Facebook had been flagging several of their clients for mentioning COVID.
Right.
So the whole idea is that that's why I have not specifically said it, because due to the current political climate, a lot of things are being flagged for potentially being fraud.
Right.
And it's getting accounts shut down.
Right. That is so true. I'm glad you brought that up. You can say things like our protocol, health protocols, safety protocols, without mentioning COVID directly by COVID. Your kids are safe with us. Know that we're protected at all times. We know that you worry about sending your children to our preschool, and we want you to know that they're safe. Like that kind of in your face communication to let you know that you're thinking about these things. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, since you are going to get flagged using COVID-19. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Absolutely.
Okay. So then, so this is the same advice and the same thing. I realize that people are using content management systems to cross promote, but all of this didn't show up. And so, again, when you guys are using content management systems and you're cross promoting, you want to go back in and make sure that it's actually showing up the way that you wanted it to show up. And if it's not, go look at that engagement. If it doesn't have a whole lot of engagement, just delete it. Just delete it. The other thing is to try to post originally and organically from 2-3 accounts, and we don't want to do that. So Okay, so Instagram. The only thing that I would say about Instagram is that, again, to think about creatively how you're going to approach a platform that's all about beautiful images. And so again, you can do things in 3s or 6s or blocks. And maybe if you can get some quote cards in here, you can have a little bit of a rhythm so that there's a rhyme and a rhythm to why you post it when you post it. You can also use filters so that each one has a different filter, and maybe these 3 had the same filter and these 3 had the same filter. But we gotta think, we can't really cross promote from Facebook to Instagram. Instagram should have its own thought processes and content strategy on how you share. So maybe it's a group kids, and the dinosaur. This static photo, and a video. Just so that it looks like you've actually thought about what the page looks like, so that when I'm looking at it this way, that it actually has a dynamic look to it, as opposed to when I'm scrolling. When I'm scrolling, it's no problem. But when I'm looking at it full page, you want it to have a cohesiveness, that you actually thought about why you use. So, I mean, it's little things like this brown floor on this side, this brown floor on that side, and that in the middle. That door and that door and that in the middle. This kid and that, like, these are the bright yellow colors, the 2 yellows on the bottom and the blue in the middle. Something as simple as that you're looking at the colors and the placement and the imagery, and that you actually are developing your Instagram based upon the photos and based upon the images.
Duly noted.
But great job. I mean, the images are great job. And also, I don't want you guys to be afraid of using a lot of content on Instagram. Okay, so the corn. So Santa says roasted corn warms your soul. Come try some today. Also available for delivery via DoorDash or Grubhub. I struggled with this site a little bit because I see a lot of people out and about and a butt in my face. But I see people out and about in a time when we're going to our second surge. So I think up in here is a good time to talk about your Grubhub, being able to do a post just about your delivery for people who really should be staying home right now. Now, we don't have stay-at-home orders, so we're not under a stay-at-home order here in Washington, D.C. or Maryland or Virginia yet, but we are surging. So when we talk about empathy, and when we talk about understanding what's happening with the people in your customers and clients, and I'm looking at folks touching things, I really do want to know the story. You've told me the story of your employees. What I'm not finding up at the top is the story of what are your protocols? How do I know? Like, this would have been a great time to tell that story, right? He has his gloves on. He has no mask on, however.
Okay, so let me say this. These are, as we talked about, as I was listening to you earlier, these are images that have been repurposed from some time ago. So it's pre-COVID. I have done, which I do need to bring some fresher content back up, but I do have a video of our safety protocols that are out there, and I've done ones with it. But in this case, I was trying to bring back up older images to just use, because of the fact that people aren't out there, as we say, or engaging in the public as they've done it previously, but more to focus the product. So maybe it's more of a situation of just showing more product, less people, and making sure that they understand that we have the delivery mechanisms for you to do that for home, for either individual, or also we are doing small group family product as well.
I think it's, Doug, I think it's an and. I don't mind you bringing photos back, not this many, because I don't see any masks in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photos. Now they are down here, so that's great. So I don't mind you repurposing, but you have to acknowledge oh, remember that time when you could just go to the mall and go grab food?
Gotcha.
You know, like just
Gotcha.
let me know this is a throwback.
Okay.
Because
Understood.
I'm looking at this going, okay, he got gloves on, but he's not having a mask. He's gonna make my food. And so just as long as you acknowledge that this was back in the day, and you can do it a fun way. Remember when all we had to do was wear gloves to prep our food? You know, just something
Yes.
fun that will bring that would make it more relevant. And when you do your videos, if you do the longer videos, you get to pick what the cover is. And
that was Dave Chappelle supporting Black-owned businesses.
Yeah, so you know what the cover should have been? Dave Chappelle, because I probably would not have clicked on his butt. So if it was his photo, I would want to see what Dave was saying, but his booty might be something different. So that's just, little editing tricks. Make sure that your cover photo is great. So then we're going to go over here to your Twitter and tell me what's happening here, because I don't see any images. I see a lot of copy and no images.
Okay, so that was I think that's the case of where I've actually been copying over and having it feed from Instagram to over to the is that the Twitter or the Facebook?
It's Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, so it's feeding over from one portal to the other. So it's what it's bringing over is just linking the pictures from there, whereas I need to actually be in there and doing the posting organically in there.
Yeah, either doing it organically or finding a content management system. There are a couple of them out there that will allow you to, Twitter changed their API. So let me just say that there were a few third parties that content management systems that would allow you to transfer over. And what I want to say to everybody on the call is, everything that you post on Facebook and Instagram doesn't have to go to Twitter. Everything that you post on Twitter doesn't have to go to Facebook and Instagram. I know that it's easy to just hit the share button, but after about a month or so, you want to look at your ROI, your return on investment, and see where you're getting the most likes, shares, and comments. And that's where you want to spend your time and your effort, as opposed to trying to be all things to all people in all spaces. Because right now, unless I'm missing something, I'm not seeing any engagement. So this is not working for you right now, and you have a page and it's fine, but I would back off of that and I would go to where your people are. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. And I would go to where your people, that's the wrong one too. I would go to where your people are. And with 1,344 followers, you've got a good audience here to build from. You're following 1,344, 440 are following you. So you have something to build from here, as opposed to continuing to, there are 27 followers here, right? Like if this is something that you want to do on Twitter, then there needs to be a strategy, not just posting, but a strategy that says, how do we get these numbers up? Okay, well, we look at other people, we look at our competitors, we look at other people in the space who are doing what we're doing. What are they talking about? What are they posting about? What are they tweeting about? What hashtags are they using? Let's retweet them. Let's, it's kind of common courtesy. I retweet you, I see that you retweeted me, and then I retweet you, and we go back and forth, right? So you have to figure out, are we in the space just to be in the space, to say that we have that digital footprint, or are we in the space because we want to make sure that we're in the proper place where our people are? I just don't want anybody to have to spend time and effort if it's not going to pay back. And this Twitter account would need some love and tender love and care and its own individual strategy to get this number up. You've already in a good space. 440 is a good jumping off point. You're in a good space to start here. So I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time going back and doing original stuff with Twitter. What I would do is spend the time where my people are, and it looks like your people are on Instagram. I mean, you're getting a few hits on Facebook, which is fine. So I know that that's confusing, right? Like I say, well, you have to have this digital footprint, and you have to have this presence, and Facebook is this big monster, and you know they're leading on all fronts, and so you should be there. And while yes, that is true, if your ROI is not coming back that those are your people and that's not where they are, and if your people are on Instagram, then I would focus your attention on Instagram, and you only have to come to Facebook, and Facebook maybe once a week, and Twitter maybe once a week, until you have the bandwidth to actually come up with a strategy for both of those platforms. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you guys have so much going on with all of these accounts. My head is spinning. Like, that's a lot to keep up with. But you guys,
tell me about it.
It's a lot to keep up with. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. Yes, Hootsuite and Social Pilot are 2 content management tools. Yes, they are. Vicky says, for some of those older ones, I put #throwback on my IG posts. It's strange watching them under the COVID times. It is, Vicky, it is really odd when you see a post, even if it's just your friends, right? Like your friends are doing a post and they're out and about, nobody has masks. Woo! Nobody has masks on, and you're trying to figure out, well, when was that? And then you realize it's an old post. And you're like, oh, okay, that's a little bit better. Can you rearrange photos and videos on IG after you post? No, you cannot, but you can delete and repost if you need to rearrange them. Are you saying don't tag in the post on Facebook and tab in the comments instead? So this is a pet peeve of mine. Yes, that is what I'm saying. When you, unless you're specifically talking about that person, do not tag them. So when I see someone has tagged you in a photo, and then I go look to see what that is, and it's actually an advertisement for their business, I am not a happy camper. So if you are tagging my company, if you're tapping, for instance, if you were sharing the graphic that I had for today's webinar, and you tagged me or my business in that flyer for today's webinar, that would be perfectly fine. If, however, you're doing a flyer about your webinar and I'm not in it and you tag me, that's not marketing. So you can put it in the comments to draw attention to whatever it is that you're advertising, but you're saying that I'm in a photo with you that I'm actually not in. So I hope you guys understand the difference between the two. Don't tag people in photos if they're not in that photo. Tag them in the comments to draw their attention to them, unless the post is about them, and then yes, certainly tag them. Monitoring responses gives me some anxiety when thinking about engaging people. Well, here's the thing. The trolls are out there. Whether you want them to be there or not, the trolls are out there. And you should have control over your social sites, that if anything gets out of hand, abusive or aggressive, that you can delete it. But if someone is saying something bad about your company and someone is leaving a bad review about your company, you want to address it. You don't want it lingering out there. And if you're respectful of others, we hope others will be respectful of you. And if they're not, delete them, delete their comment. Now, I also want to caution you about making sure that you only have good reviews, and that there's never anyone that says anything that's not even, I don't want to say bad, because that's not the right word, but anything that's challenging about your business. If that happens, then we often think that you've bought or you've paid influencers to leave those comments. Everybody is not going to like your offering, your product, or your services. Not everybody in the world is going to like it. So there should be at least one or two, I don't want to say disgruntled, but people who have been challenged that you address and win them over. And that is far more believable than 50 people who just absolutely love your product and you can't say anything bad about it whatsoever. Dina says, is there a social media schedule you recommend? I like Sprout Social. That's on an enterprise level though. I'm not sure if they do an individual, but that's who I like. And I love Sprinkler. Again, Sprinkler is a large enterprise content management system, but it is the standard by which most large companies are going now, is with Sprinkler. But you could use Hootsuite. There are other ones where you don't have to have an enterprise large account with large teams. I mean, Sprinkler is great if you have multiple accounts and multiple social media managers, social media specialists working on a team. It's very collaborative, and it allows you to store your content in a library system. But if it's a small business owner and it's just yourself, that may be a little bit too much. Let me see. Again, someone recommended Hootsuite, which I like as well, in Social Pilot. I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Each social media network has a different tone. Edit posts to reflect the tone of specific networks. Absolutely, Stacy. So Stacy and I work together at DCSBDC doing social. I do it on the COVID-19 side, and she does it for DCSBDC. And she brings up a great point. Each social media network has a different tone. Each post should reflect the tone of the specific networks. Absolutely. Social media looks like it could be a full-time job. I know this is probably the company specific, but how much time would you suggest allocating per day? Social media is a full-time job. It is absolutely a full-time job. And the only way to answer how many hours you should do it per day, it really gets to your goals and what you're using social media for. So if you have definitive goals, either it's brand awareness, or you have a specific campaign that you're running, or you have a specific product that you're trying to introduce, all that dictates how much time you spend. If you're running a campaign, you're going to be on social all day, every day, if you're running a campaign. If it's for brand awareness and you have a pretty solid marketing plan, and this is just so that you have a digital footprint, you might be on it for an hour a day. If you have multiple channels and you have multiple streams of revenue that you need to address, and multiple ways that money is coming in, you could be doing social 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, half a day. So yes, it is absolutely a full-time job. And if you can't do it yourself, I would recommend that you hire a social media manager to do it for you. Is there a strategic perspective advantage to following as many people on IG? Sign of depression if you follow too many folks. I think the strategy is, are the people that you're following people that are going to engage with you and or buy your products and services? If they're going to buy your products and services, absolutely follow them. And the sky's the limit until Instagram stops you, because if you follow too many people, it's going to think you're a troll and they're going to stop you anyway. But it's more to the point of, why are you following all those people, right? So who, what, when, where, and why. So this gets to the why. Why are you following all those people, and what do you want them to do once they start following you? What is it that you want them to do? And are the people that you're following your target audience? And if they are your target audience, how are you engaging with them? How are you willing to engage with them? Are you willing to repost and repost things on Instagram, or regram things that they're doing? Do you want to partner with them? Are you looking for influencers? So a lot of that, Nigel, has to do with why you have so many, or why you're following those people. And again, asking yourself, what does this relationship with this person, what problem does that solve? If we can go back to the beginning when I talked about what problem that solves, if you can talk about that and think about what problem that solves, I think that would cut through a lot of the noise of the who, what, when, where, and whys. You guys, we have come to the end of the hour. We're actually over the hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And I want to thank the folks who gave me the opportunity to look at their social media accounts. That's very brave of you to do that live in front of everybody. I hope that you found this helpful. And so as I ask, go ahead and leave a review in the comments. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like. This will be our last DCSBDC COVID-19 initiative webinar for this year. We will be coming back in January. We'll come back strong for you. But let me know the kind of topics that you want to hear from us. We do everything from legal advice, public relations advice, business development. The Schedule A webinar part 2 is coming back. So if you've missed that one is coming back. And just thank you guys for joining us. This webinar will be available as soon as I finish editing it. It'll be available on YouTube, and then on the website and the slides will be available as well. So one more time, if you've registered for this webinar and you used a different name than you've used with DCSBDC, please drop in the chat what your DCSBDC name of your company is and what your name is, so we can find you, we can give you credit for this webinar, and make sure that you have the resources that came out of this webinar. So thank you guys. Leave some other questions. You can follow me on social media. I'm at Danielle Ricks everywhere. I'm at Danielle Ricks on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. So follow me and I'll follow you back, and let's continue to have this conversation, and let's continue to talk about how we can engage people. So thanks guys. Bye.